Hi stamping friends, welcome to the August online card class. This month we're going to be focusing on a technique called watercoloring. I love watercoloring. It is very forgiving and it's very easy. You just have to get over any fears that you might have. On this video, I'm going to be showing you how to do several things on these 4 cards. You will be receiving in the free card kit, you'll receive the envelopes for these 4 cards. I wanted to chat with you a little bit about the watercolor paper that Stampin' Up! Sells. It comes in a pack and it is, I think this is like 6 by 8. I forget exactly the measurements, but it is awesome watercolor paper. It's a really high quality. So in your card kit, you'll be receiving all the pieces that you need to do your projects. The stamp set that I'm using is the Remarkable You. And so fun about this is that we're going to be using every stamp in this set. Now I'm a wood girl, so mine are in 2 boxes. If you get yours and they're not, then that's why. So I'm going to get my first stamp out. I don't think I put mine back in the right boxes, but that's okay. Oh, goodness. All right, so for the first stamp I'm going to be getting out is going to be this one. So these are the cards. All right, I'm going to demonstrate this one first, then this one. I'm going to teach you what that little arrow means, and this one, and this one. Okay, so I'm going to set those all aside for a moment. All right, so for the card pieces for this one, what you'll receive in the kit is you're going to be receiving your linen thread, a piece of orange and a piece of yellow cardstock, a small piece of watercolor paper, a larger piece of watercolor paper, some black and yellow, and then your card base. All right, so for the sake of this video, since I'm going to be showing you more how to do the techniques, I'm not going to be assembling the cards in front of you, but I think you can figure out what to do with everything. I'm just going to be really focusing on tricks and tips on this video. Now the PDF instructions that you receive for being in the online class has all of the assembly instructions, but like I said, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. So I'm not going to be doing all that on the video itself. You will have to have a black StazOn because we're going to be applying water to it, water in a way. The black StazOn is waterproof, okay? So it's not going to smear on you. I'm going to go ahead and ink up my stamp. I like to ink it up this way. That way I make sure that I get everything inked really well. Okay. Always recap your StazOn so that it doesn't dry out on you. I'm using Daffodil Delight. Oh, before I do that, I want to get some ink on my lid because that's what's going to be my ink supply. All right. Go ahead and do this. And I'm actually going to move my pad out of the way. I don't really need that underneath. So I think you can see. You can use either one of these tools. You can use Aqua Painter or the blender pens. For this one, I'm going to go ahead and use the blender pen, but throughout the cards, I'm going to be switching around. The blender pens, there are 3 in there, and I love the blender pens because they're more controlled, okay? You have more of control. So if you're afraid, this is a really good tool to use because you have more control over how much ink you pick up, how much water, things like that. All right, there are 2 tips. They are the same. This is a brand new one, but once I start using it, it's going to get stained, so don't worry about that. I'm going to take my blender pen to the ink, and I'm just going to get some on there. And then I'm going to go to my flower, and I'm going to start coloring. And I'm starting to color on the outside. I want to work from the outside in. Now this is a little bit drier than I want, so I'm going to go ahead and put some water from my Aqua Painter into my lid. I'm going to pick up some, and that allows me to blend a little bit better. So that's one way to do it. Now I want to go ahead and switch over to the Aqua Painter because that process is a little bit slower, and for the video I want to speed things up a bit. The fun thing about Aqua Painters and coloring with the reinkers or with your stamp pads is that you can make these as light or dark as you want. And I've been told that I'm a pretty bold watercolorist. So if you are a bold one and you want a little bit lighter hand, then the Aqua Painter might be more for you because you can apply more water. So now that I've done that, I want you to see the difference. See how dark my first one is versus the lighter one? So totally up to you. I do want to clean off my Aqua Painter, and I'm going to switch to the pumpkin pie. I'm using the pumpkin pie, and I already have some ink on there. Okay, so then I want to color my stem. Don't forget your stem. Oh, we've really been doing watercoloring with this one. Now you might ask yourself, what is the difference in using this technique versus your markers, if you have markers? The markers are going to be pretty bold and dark, like this flower was, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so that is two ways to do the coloring on that one. And now we're going to skip to the next card. The next card I'm doing is this one, okay? So again, I'm not going to assemble it, but these are the pieces that you're going to get. And on the large background piece, I want to point out that I've used various embossing folders. On this one, I used the butterflies. I love our embossing folders by Stampin' Up. So just pick one that works well for you. You'll also get a piece of green, that's for your banner. You'll get a piece of watercolor to do your stamping, and it may be a little bit bigger than what you need, but I'd rather it be bigger so that you can trim it down. Then you're going to get the larger piece of watercolor and your black. And then of course you'll get your base, and as I mentioned, you'll get your envelopes. Okay, again, we're going to take our Stays on ink. And let me get my stamp. So on this one, again, I'm going to ink up all the way. The reason I like to do this is so that I don't get my block so dirty. If I just stamp, ink it up this way, I get more ink in places I don't want it. Okay. Now I'm switching over to Melon Mambo. Again, putting a lot of ink in that lid. And I'm just going to use the Aqua Painter. I'm not squeezing any water right now. I just want as much dark ink as I can. And I'm outlining the stamp, the stamped flower image. And you don't have to outline all the petals. Now I want to squeeze a little bit of water into my ink supply and kind of dilute it a little bit. So there you have where it looks a little bit more outlined, a little bit more detail. And then I want to take my green, and we already know we have enough green in our lid. And that stamping is done. Okay, so there you have it. A little bit different look, a little bit lighter, a little bit more shading, okay? So now we're going to do this one. And this one I'm going to color a little bit differently and explain to you about the arrow that I have. When I took a watercoloring painting class, I was taught to you about light source. So our light source on this one came from above. You decide which way your light source is coming. This one, I'm going to make the light source come from the right-hand top corner down. And so you'll notice that my top part of my leaves are lighter and the bottom ones are darker. Okay, so for this card, you're going to be receiving your layer, your black layer, your watercolor piece, the green for the banner, and a piece of watercolor paper for you to stamp on. And then of course you'll get your base and your envelope, as I mentioned. All right, so for this one, I need to get my leaves. And the leaves are pretty big, okay? So if you'll notice, pretty big, all right? So I'm gonna teach you a little trick that helped me. Get a piece of scratch paper. Where's my stamp? There it is, right in front of me. And then I'm just going to ink this up as I've done the others. And I'm going to take my stamp face up and I'm going to move the paper around. Which way do I want it? Yes, like that. And then I'm just going to stamp upside down. Whoops, where'd my paper go? Okay, so there it is. All right, so I did get a little bit heavy-handed on that side. So when you're inking up, if you have ink on your stamp, just make sure that you wipe that off. It is StazOn, so this may already be dry, but I'm going to go ahead and just show you. I'm going to go ahead and do it again. That way it's a perfect peek. Well, no, it's okay for the video. You understand. So just be careful with that. If I make a boo-boo when I'm making the videos, you're going to make a boo-boo at home. So there you go. So just check your stamped image. If there's ink, just get a tissue and just wipe that off. And that way, when you go to stamp, you won't have that. I call it trash. I don't know what you would call it, but anyway. All right, so for this one, as I mentioned, we're going to be doing the green with a light source coming from this top right-hand corner. So you'll notice how I did all of the parts of the leaves that are the furthest away from my light source, okay? The top parts are going to be lighter because the light is hitting them. Now I am going to squeeze a little bit of water and then I'm just going to pull up. Oh, too much water, too much green. Now, another fun thing while you're doing this, what if it wasn't light enough? Just dab it. you can just take that tissue and dab it so that it's lighter, which is another trick that I learned. Yep, it's coming out a little bit darker, but that's okay. That's what I mean by this is so forgiving. If you take off too much, go put some more back on. So as you can see by my applying color, removing color, I was able to do quite a bit with this. Okay, on to the next card. This is the next card. And again, you'll receive all your pieces. You'll get your piece for your stamping. For the stamping of the words, you'll get the pieces for the main part of the card. You're going to get your layer, and this is Rich Razzleberry. You'll get your card base, and on this one I used the triangles, the tiny triangles. I loved it. It was so fun. Again, those embossing folders can really make a difference in your background. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to use the last stamp, and again with my StazOn. If that piece of paper is too small for you, you can go ahead and use the same technique that I mentioned a while ago if that is hard for you to line up. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to really do more of a wash. Don't worry if your stamp pad pops and cracks, it's okay. So, really adding a lot of water to this. And I'm just giving it a light wash. Careful to stay in the lines. But I think you'll realize how fast and easy these cards can be when you try these different techniques. And you can go ahead and take your tissue and do some blotting if you want it lighter. And then again, you'll take your green and just color your leaf and all that. Okay, I hope you enjoyed these 4 fast cards, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.